All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for the fact. Up in North California, where the redwoods reach the skies, three men with a goal and a pact that they'd hold, and a promise till the day that they died. Answers to the questions.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and X Zone Broadcast Network. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And for all the programming available on the X Zone TV channel that is exclusive to Simul TV, visit www.simultv.com. X Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Kevin KILLEN. And Kevin is a former substance abuse counselor, and award-winning journalist. Kevin has experienced the paranormal most of his life, from his first encounter at the age of 5. Can you just imagine that, having your first encounter at the age of 5? At his home in Evanston, Illinois, until present day. Kevin has experienced many types of paranormal events. This ranges from shadow people, EVP captures, voices, and even to attachments. Kevin has lived in many places around the country where he has experienced these events, including Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Having grown up in Church Falls, Virginia, he has relocated to the beautiful eastern shore of Maryland, where he is working on his current projects. Now, if you'd like to find out more about Kevin or contact him, his website is ozarkmt.com. That's ozarkmt.com. And Kevin, welcome to the X Zone.
Rob, thank you for having me.
Great talking to you. Tell me, at the age of 5, tell me about the first paranormal experience you had. And
Sure.
It must have made one heck of an impression on a young child.
Oh, absolutely. I think I on these shows that I talk to people and listen to these shows and go on them myself. And the one thing I've definitely come away with is that your first paranormal experience definitely defines and shapes you, and it definitely stays with you the rest of your life. That first experience is as vivid as my last one, and that's over 40 years ago. So yeah, it's just one of those things that when that does happen, it has a profound effect on you, and it obviously did with me. But anyway, I was 5 years old. We were living in Evanston, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. My father was a journalist, and he used to go to cover sporting events for the UPI. So he took all my brothers. I had 3 older brothers at the time. He took them with them to St. Louis, I believe, where the tournament was. So I just stayed home with me and my mother, and we had, the downstairs where we ate the dinner and everything. And I just distinctly, we had the big wooden floors, and I heard footsteps, somebody walking on the steps up there. And I turned to my mother and I said, who's in the house? And she looked at me and she said, that's my little boy. And that really confused me because I was the only little boy in the house that I knew of. But later on, she told me that she just didn't want to scare me because she was scared herself. She'd actually thought somebody had broken into the house. But she had heard that too, and it was distinctive footfalls right across the wooden floor, and there was nobody else in the house. So that was my first paranormal experience, and I've been experiencing them ever since.
Why do you think, Kevin, that some people are so attuned to these paranormal experiences and others aren't?
Well, I think in my case, I'm an empath. I'm empathic. I do probably think I have a little bit of psychic ability
Hmm.
to me, and also I'm Irish, predominantly Irish, so I have Celtic blood in me. And I've done a lot of studying about how the Celts have the site, if you will, back in Ireland, and they brought it over here. So I think that has a lot to do with it, honestly. And I've talked to a lot of friends and family and things like that who have experience these things that are of Celtic blood, and they all seem to have the same thing. And again, with me, I think it's a little bit of that.
Now, I understand that you have also seen full bodied apparitions. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. When I was working in my former position as a counselor, drug and
Hmm.
alcohol substance abuse counselor, I worked overnight. So obviously, nobody's awake. The building's quiet, this and that. And I was actually working on the book that's actually out there now, Ghosts and Me. I was actually working on some chapters before publication, and I happened to glance up and I saw somebody walk by a window of my office, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it must have been somebody from one of the clients
Hmm.
getting out of bed." So I went out there, and of course, there was nobody there. I saw, actually, I guess this wasn't a full body; it was mostly body apparition. Thinking back on it now, because I saw from about the waist up go by the window, and then it hit me that we have a picture, a painting of the woman who started the program in the corner of the hallway, and I do believe that was her that I did see that night.
So, what different types of experiences have you had over the years?
Oh gosh, you name it. Shadow people. I've had the disembodied voice. I've had a lot of
Oh my
great
gosh.
EVP captures. I've had. I lived in a couple of haunted houses, so that was always fun. Just ranging from that to other things such as, what I used to do when I was working. I used to like tell my coworkers, "Hey, pick up the phone," and they'd say, "What?" And then the phone would ring. I used to love doing that to them because it was, and they kind of got used to me doing that. Or I'd say so and so might call, and then in the next day, how do you know he was going to call? I said, I don't know, I just do. So I've had kind of the gambit from pretty much almost everything.
In your opinion, dealing with all these paranormal events, what, in your opinion, is a ghost? And why do they stay on this plane?
Wow, that's a really good question, Rob. I believe a ghost is just the spirit or the essence of a human being. I believe that our physical bodies are just the vessel for our soul, and
Hmm.
that's just, again, this is my personal belief. It's not espousing anybody else's. This is just personally what I think,
Right.
and I just think that when we pass, that we have stages to go to. And some of us actually stay back because they may have some unfinished business. Some people really don't know that they're dead, so they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, and that's why there are some really gifted psychics and mediums out there who actually help people cross over. But I think it's just the essence of who we are, and basically, uh, some people might stay and some people might go, and I think everyone goes eventually. Every time, it just kind of depends on what stage you're in.
Hmm. Okay, so if we're looking at the ghost scenario, is there a difference, in your opinion, between a ghost and a haunting, or are they part and parcel of each other?
I believe that they can be. I think hauntings more have to deal with, well, they could actually be, one, the theories are there's an intelligent haunting, which is basically one that you could actually talk to, and it's kind of just like, basically you have a human being
Hmm.
next to you that you could actually talk to, and something will come back. And then there's the other one where it's a the stone tape theory, where basically things that have happened years ago get the energy gets trapped in that
Hmm.
certain place and just gets played over like a tape reel. And I think both of those do exist, and I've experienced both of them. So, and then again, that kind of makes sense to me. And I worked a little bit in radio,
Right.
so I do know a little bit about bulk erasing and
Exactly. Yeah.
ions and
Yeah.
things. So that really, when I first heard the stone tape theory, I said, wow, that really kind of really makes sense to me. And I actually told one of my professors that in college, that kind of looked at me like, yeah, okay, I'm not really down with the ghost thing, but I'm glad you're getting my course. So, but yeah, that's just kind of, I kind of subscribe to both of those theories.
It seems that there is a lot, well, doing this show and speaking to a lot of different people, I'm getting the impression that demonic activity is on an increase. It seems that there are those people who have experiences who are like you, who have to, the full body apparition, I'm going to call this normal paranormal experiences, and then the others who have had predominantly demonic experiences. When we come back from this commercial break, I'd like to ask you about that. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
All right, Kevin, please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is Kevin Killen, and his website is ozarkmt.com. That's OZARKMT.com. And Kevin and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues around the world from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for the fact. Up in North California, where the redwoods reach the skies, 3 men with a gold and a pack that they'd hold in a...
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the mash,
he did the monster
the
mash.
monster mash.
It was a graveyard
He
smash.
did the mash,
It caught on in a flash.
he did the mash.
He did the monster mash. For my love looked
Exonation, Kevin Killen is our guest. We're talking about strange things that go bump in the night, paranormal experiences that our guest has had. And before we went to the break, Kevin, I asked you, why does it seem that there are some people who have what I cannot call anything else but normal paranormal experiences, and those who are talking about all these demonic cases? What's your take on this?
Well, Rob, I think with a lot of people, and of course, with the world's kind of gone crazy in the last year and a half,
Oh,
2
big
years,
time.
as we well know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it, I see this every day, unfortunately, is there's a lot of people that just are rude. There's a lot of discourtesy going on around the world, and I think what that does is that a positive attitude will always breed positivity. And I've actually done experiments personally on this, and it has happened, and it is true. And I know that there's a saying down here. I'm sure there's a saying in Canada similar to that, is don't speak it into the universe.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is that a lot of people are just everything is just kind of off kilter right now, that a lot of people's energies are really low. I'm really loath to use the D word, as I like to say, because I think a lot of people do that just for the shock value.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a lot of evil and negative energy out there, not so much the whole demonic thing. I do believe that there are things out there that you shouldn't mess with, that are walking around just kind of waiting for things. But I think demonic is overused. I think a lot of it just has to do with a lot of negative energy, and that's if you positivity can kind of sweep that stuff away. But I think that it's just the way the world's going. You just gotta kind of have to find a way to be positive to kind of keep the negative stuff away.
The way the world is going, does this affect the world of the paranormal? Does it increase sightings? Does it increase encounters? Or,
I,
does it just stay the same?
I believe in some areas it probably does increase. I was thinking, recently with me and my experiences it's been cyclical. Between September and December are usually the best times for me because the energy for me is a lot different.
Okay.
During the fall time. The energy just seems to be a little heightened for me. That doesn't mean I don't have experiences in the dead of summer or spring or winter, things like that. But I just think it just kind of it depends on where you are in the world and what's happening. So I think what happens is, people have these horrible things happen to them. They get depressed. Their energy levels are low, and that's when the evil kind of raises its head and says, "Oh, hey, there's low energy, and I can see this, so I'm going to go ahead and just do my best to kind of mess with them and see what I can get out of it." And I kind of think that's what's going on around the world.
When you get your EVPs that you've been successful in getting, is there any specific technique that you use?
No, basically, I tell them who I am, what I'm doing, and I just let the tape run. That's as simple as that. And I've gotten some really good captures just from doing that. I know I've seen on some of these ghost shows and people will do you ask the question, you hit the play button, record button, you stop, you rewind it, hit it again. I don't do that. And that's fine for anybody that wants to do that. I've just had success with just basically saying, "Hey, is there anybody here who wants to talk? My name is Kevin," and then hit the play button and then just let it record.
Let me ask you this, Kevin. You've been in the industry, and I'm talking about radio, and you've taken college courses as well. Being in broadcasting, I know in order for anything that I do or anything that we play here, we have to hear it at the time. And yet, EVPs don't work that way. Any idea why or how?
That's one thing that's always amazed me.
Yeah.
That I really have no idea why that is. I guess, I suppose that eventually maybe there's rules on the other side, and the way that they have to make that world orderly. So maybe that's something that they do. But that brings up an interesting point. I was actually talking with somebody about a year ago, and they texted me, called me at 7:00 in the morning, and they said, you said, "Hey man, you got to listen to this." And I was like, "What happened?" So they played a conversation when I was talking to them. They were recording, and there was voices over our conversation that was neither me nor the person I was speaking with. And it's a clear sentence. You can't make it out, but somebody's definitely talking over us. I've never had that happen before, and that was actually kind of cool.
Now, let me ask you this. Were either one of you on a cell?
Yes, we both were.
Could it be cell bleed?
I suppose it could be, but it was I was doing another show.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I think, it was another podcast.
Right.
Or actually, it was a podcast. So I don't believe it was. The host was kind of just like, this is, I guess he had a soundproof booth.
Okay.
So that was really interesting, and he was really excited to hear that.
Where has been the most scariest place that you have been where you have experienced firsthand paranormal experiences?
Wow. There's actually been a couple.
Could you share them with us?
Sure, absolutely. And I mentioned that in my book. I lived in a house in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, when I was going to college there. It was on the outskirts of town. It was a little gray, nondescript house, just kind of out there. It wasn't very old. I don't even know really how old it was. I'm thinking the 60s. Actually, but me and my roommate at the time, we would experience all sorts of things. We'd experience doors opening on their own. We'd experience doors closing. We'd experience somebody going in the bathroom and using the bathroom, and there's nobody in there. We heard voices. We had cabinets opening and closing. We had like shuffling of papers, and I just remember maybe 2 months into our stay there. Me and my roommate were sitting down, and he just kind of looked at me out of the blue and said, "Hey, have you ever had anything happen to you here when I'm not here?" And it was like this big weight was lifted off our shoulders, because we both were like, "Oh my gosh." And then we started just bouncing out, what we had heard when we weren't there, and it was the same thing. And there was such a relief between us that we had actually, we knew we weren't crazy, because we were both hearing the same things when neither one of us were there. So that was probably one of the most scariest I've encountered, because that happened like all the time, like literally daily. That was a daily occurrence for a long time.
My goodness. Have other people been in your home when you were living in that haunted house, and did anything happen while they were there?
Yes, we had. I was actually dating a woman at the time who happened to be a psychic, and she told me. She said, "Hey, who's the old guy in the corner?" Excuse me. And I said, what do you mean? There's no old guy here. And she's like, "Yeah, there's an old man sitting here. He's the one who's causing all the things here in this house." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "I know you've been experiencing stuff here." And she went on to explain this. And I was like, she'd never been in the house before. And this was freaking both of us out, because we were like, wow, how did she even know these things? But again, she actually helped us. She was able to communicate with that gentleman. Apparently he was that was his former house, and he just wanted to make sure that we were going to take care of it. And that's he was just coming back to visit. And she was able to bridge the between us and him to let us know everything was going to be okay. So that was actually a really neat experience.
Yeah, I used to do the show from News Talk 610 CKTB in St. Catharines, and it's the old Yates mansion. And it was also the last stop on the Underground Railroad. And it's on a little creek, and there's a tunnel that goes from the creek up into the basement of the location. And there were many experiences that everyone else had in there except me. And this one time, I was going out to lunch with a good friend of mine who worked in the sales department, and we're at the bottom of the stairs, and he says, "Go ahead, ma'am." And he starts talking to me again, and I said, "Bob, there's nobody was there." And he says, "Rob, there was a lady who came down the stairs." And he looked at me, he said, "Wasn't there?" "No, Bob, there wasn't." And people would see see unknown entities or faces throughout the building, especially in the control areas where they're usually dark. And so if people would come in and have these experiences, and I wouldn't, and I've often wondered why I haven't had any of these experiences personally. It's not that I don't believe, I just like to have an experience.
Yeah, see, that's a lot of the things, and unfortunately, I've actually had friends that'll say the same thing, because after reading my book, people will be like, "Oh my God, you're the ghost magnet. So here, let's go to this place over here and see what you get." And it doesn't always work that way, but again, and maybe unfairly that I'm kind of setting myself up like this.
All right, hold on, Kevin.
No, I just I go to places and things, I can pick up things, but it doesn't happen like that. But I do have friends also who are like, "Man, I never get to see or hear anything," and they're so bummed about it.
All right, stand by, Kevin. We've got to take our break for the news at the bottom of the hour. More about ghosts, hauntings, and things that go bump in the night with my very special guest this first hour of tonight's show, Kevin Killen. And Kevin and I return. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash. From my love Notari in the castle east to the master bedroom.
Clap for the Wolfman. He gon' reach your record high. Clap for the Wolfman. You gon' dig him till the day you die.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Hey, that was cool, a toilet flushing effect. And
I tried to cover up. So you cut that out. I forgot how powerful these things are. I have a headset
well,
on.
what the heck? You gotta go. You gotta go. You know what?
That's kind of the way I look at it.
You see what I just found out about you. Oh, by the way, this is Kevin Killen, X-Zone Nation. He's our guest this hour. You're an honest guy because you could have easily said, "My God, the ghost did that." Nice having you with us.
Absolutely, that's true.
Listen, tell us about your book.
Sure. My book is a journey/journal of my paranormal experiences. I've been basically keeping this journal/journey for about 15, 16 years before it came to publication. Basically what I did is I just decided that, back in 2004, 2005, I was a journalist anyway.
Right.
So, and I've always wanted to write, be an author. So I just started, writing down, all the experiences that happened to me. And I was really heavily into reading some of these books that were out on the market that were kind of doing the same thing. So I said, hey, what the heck? I think people want to hear what I've experienced. So I just kept adding to it and sending it out to publishers. And finally, after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I finally got published. But it's about a 15-year journey, kind of summing up, 35, 40 years of my life with the spirit world.
And the title of your book is?
Ghosts and Me. And
it's available where?
Amazon.com, OzarkMountain.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and I think pretty much any .com you can get books.
Oh, super.
But those are usually the best places to get it.
What was your favorite chapter in your book?
Well, I would have to say my first EVP capture, because that kind of really set the tone for me wanting to find out more about the paranormal world. So I think that was the one.
Since the age of 5, you've had all these experiences, and to you, what was the experience of all experiences that you've had, and that made you believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that ghosts are real?
Probably my 2 attachments, because I actually had a negative attachment that really changed my personality.
Really?
Yeah, and I had a good attachment that where the spirit was joining me in the shower. So. So I had one of each.
I have to ask you at this point: was it a male or female attachment?
It was a female attachment.
Did she scrub your back for you?
No, unfortunately, she didn't. She would just get in the shower with me and kind of like caress me as a gust of cold air, kind of like swirling around my body, and it was just bothersome, and it was just really uncomfortable. Like, why is this happening to me and everything? It was just really, it wasn't, it was very sensual, but it was just, I was just like, I don't like this, because it just kind of creeped you out.
Oh, let's see. Invisible, female, takes showers, can't be seen, can't be heard, gives a good feeling. Let's just let that go at that. All right. Tell us about, for our listeners who may be joining us for the first time tonight and saying, what the hell are these guys talking about? What's an attachment?
Attachment is basically a spirit that it basically attaches itself to you, much like an email attachment. Like you get the big paper clip when you send an email and you want to attach something. So that attachment is to that email. What a spirit will do is it will attach itself to you either physically, or it will kind of tag along with you and just kind of make itself at home in your home or wherever you go. It's with you the whole time. Wherever you go, it's kind of like your shadow.
Is that what a shadow person could be? Is an attachment?
Yes, that's absolutely what it could be.
Okay.
And I'm sure some people, unfortunately, have had the experience of having those attach them, and those are some of the more nastier entities out there that I've I've been told that the one that I had was just an experience. It wasn't nasty at all. It just really freaked me out. But yeah, definitely a shadow person could be an attachment.
Does your attitude in life have a lot to do with the paranormal experiences you have? For example, to me, you have a very, I love your personality, you know.
Thank you.
It's very honest, it's very open, and you don't mind the joking and the bantering, which I adore in people. Does this have the effect of the experience one would get in the paranormal?
Yeah, I believe it does, especially with me. For instance, the attachment, the woman that joined me in the shower.
Oh, here we
I
go again with the
apparently
lady in the shower.
Reminded her of her husband. So she was from the 1800s, and basically my personality reminded me of her husband. That's why she really took a liking to me. That I was told by a psychic friend of mine. That's why she was around me. So yeah, I believe it definitely does.
So you like older women, huh?
Yeah, she was quite the cougar, gotta say.
Yeah. If somebody wants to test out the waters and try to better understand or contact with the paranormal, how would you suggest that?
What I would do is if and that's another reason I wanted to stress to your listeners, is another reason I wrote this book was to actually help people to do things like this. Like I said, and because I consider myself an above average intelligent guy. I don't think I'm crazy. But these are just hey, this is what happened to me. It's out there, and I know a lot of people are still afraid to admit that they've had experiences, and I understand why. Because believe me, I've had enough of the okay, I'm going to back away slowly from you. I've got the side eye. I've got the whole that kind of thing. So I can understand it. So that's another reason I wrote that. My would be I never had guidance, quite honestly. My guidance came in the form of reading books. Like Hans Holzer was a favorite of mine. I read everything that he had out there.
A great
the
guy.
Warrens were another one. I read everything that they had out there. So I learned how to do things through them. So I never had a mentor. Excuse me. So I never had a mentor. So I would suggest if you know somebody that's actually experienced the paranormal, to contact them to say, hey, how can you kind of guide me? And again, I have an email, and I always tell people, hey, I love talking to people. So if anybody, your listeners, wants to fire off some questions to me, I have an email that they're more than welcome to do that.
Well, we're going to publish your email along with the show notes, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, that is super.
That would be awesome. But yeah, I'd say try to find a mentor.
Yeah.
If possible.
We've had Hans Holzer's daughter on the show a number of times, Anna Marie.
Yes.
She is a great lady. Great lady.
Yes, I've heard her on a couple other interviews. She's definitely a good lady.
Looking at the big picture, does one's religious beliefs, in your opinion, also affect the type of paranormal experience that they have or don't have?
Yes, I believe it does. Like for instance, and this is what I've actually told people in this kind of with the religious community, they kind of don't look too favorably on this. But again, like demonology, easy for me to say. Catholic. So basically true, Catholicism. Like and The Exorcist, I love that movie.
Yeah,
I used to live right outside of DC. I've been to the steps. I've watched that movie I don't know how many times. But again, I think like your religion. I've actually known people who have practiced Santeria and voodoo, and the thing that they've done during ritual and that they've captured, you wouldn't capture that as any other religion. So I do believe firmly that whatever your denomination is going to have an effect on how you view the paranormal, if you view it at all, and what kind of spirits you actually can see or hear.
Do you think the fact that the paranormal is embellished on a lot of these TV shows, that this would also be a deterrent from somebody coming forward and sharing their experiences that aren't as flamboyant as those on TV?
Wait, these are embellished? Really?
Well,
No, Rob. No, seriously. I have a problem with a lot of these paranormal shows,
Yeah.
unfortunately. For that very reason, is because some of these shows, and I've actually on another show actually argued with a person, a guest, that basically tried to tell me because this certain this certain ghost hunter was on TV that they knew more about that than I did,
All right,
and I
stand
was
by.
like,
Stand by.
yeah.
I've got to
So
take my final break here.
sure.
Reality TV. Isn't that an oxymoron? Anyway, we'll be back on the other side of this break, X-Zone Nation, as we kind of wrap this hour up with our very special guest this hour. His name is Kevin Killen. We'll have to have Kevin back on the show and to share more of his examples with us. And maybe next time he's on, he'll share some of his EVPs. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone with my guest, Kevin Killen, on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Clap for the wolf man, you're gonna dig him till the day you die. Do run, and the Duke of Earl, they were friends of mine. I was on my moonlight drive. Snuggle in, so baby, just one kiss.
You were a pumpkin.
I was a pumpkin, a big orange pumpkin.
A big orange pumpkin. And were there a lot of children out there?
Not so much.
No. Did you get a lot of candy?
Yeah, I got a lot of candy. Mommy's eating all the chocolate bars.
Well, tell Mommy that's your candy, honey.
Okay.
Tell her.
Stop eating all my chocolate bars, Mommy. Daddy's sick.
Well, you'd know it's Halloween when I play that little clip from our youngest daughter, baby Fuffy, on her adventure of one of her first Halloweens, and she got ticked off at Laura because Laura decided that she was going to basically raid Fuffy's stash. Oh, welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. My special guest this hour is, I don't know if I should call him the ghost magnet. Oh, we'll just leave it at that. I was going to say something about the ghost in the shower magnet, but we'll just leave that alone. His name is Kevin Killen. He's a great guy. He's got a book entitled Ghosts and Me. It's available on Amazon.com and all other online bookstores. And if you'd like to send him an email, here's his email address. We're going to put it on our show notes that are available online all over the place, I'm told. His email address is kkillenbt@gmail.com. That's kkillenbt@gmail.com. And his website is www.ozarkmt.com. ozarkmt.com. First of all, Kevin, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on the show tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed being on this show, and I'll definitely come back anytime.
Super. I you know what? I listened to some other shows. I've been doing this show for 31 years now, and I've had the opportunity of being on other shows and listening to other shows, and it's kind of dramatic. It's deep. It's dark. It's suspenseful. It's bullshit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just like we were talking about these shows on TV. Now, I must admit there is one show that I will give credit to, and not because I was the consultant to the series. It's because they did it right, and that was Creepy Canada. I had the pleasure of working with Creepy Canada for 3 years. The executive producer, Brian O'Day, wanted it to be as real as possible. There was no shady night shots, shaking cameras, or people using nylon filament line to pull a door closed or anything like that. It was done right. And, I was proud to be part of that series. But I see what other shows do and how they do it. It's like, oh my God, people are not stupid. Are they? Is it that they want to believe so bad that they'll accept anything?
I think that's part of it. And on the other end, I've had arguments with people, both on air and off air, just whatever. Also, they have, being a TV show, ratings equals success. So yeah, they have to on their end, unfortunately, have to build it up, or basically they're going to get canceled. And that, that's the
Yeah.
reality. But some people don't see it that way, and the general public, I don't think, do. But I think a lot of people do. I think that is a part of it, is that they want to believe so much that they'll buy almost anything.
What advice do you have for people when looking for somebody to talk to, about their experiences? Besides going to your website or contacting you, what should they do in order to make sure that they're just not going to be part of this, I hate to say the word, cult that is forming out there when it comes to the ghost industry?
I would have to say trust your gut, because that's one piece of advice that I got a long time ago that I didn't buy into until actually I started trusting it, and actually good things did happen. So basically, if you're talking to somebody and they seem far-fetched, and your gut's telling you you're not getting a good feeling, stop right there and move on to the next person, is what I would say. And there's plenty of people out there that are actually really good paranormal investigators, paranormal researchers that can help people. And of course, you got the charlatans on the other end. There's tons of them out there as well that don't know anything. So I like I said, I'd say just kind of trust your gut and do your research, do your homework when you're looking into people. Most people have websites and they have a lot of information on them these days. Fire off. There's one. I'm not going to mention the guy's name. He has been he has been caught fraudulently giving psychic readings, and this guy's still on TV. And it just blows my mind that this guy's still out there making a paycheck. Actually, he's been caught, faking stuff. But hey, I'm not the network. I don't pay the guy.
Yeah.
So and he goes to all these Comic-Con things. So he's all. But yeah, just do your homework. It's out there. Most of the people are exposed online somewhere. I found that out fairly quickly.
In your opinion, where would be a good place for people who want to start looking at being ghost researchers or paranormal researchers to go and experience or try to experience an event?
Well, I would say one thing too, also along those lines, most places, and I do know that, and I've done research here. I have some friends in Canada that they have a lot of good ghost groups in Canada.
Yeah.
So, don't be afraid to look in your area to see, ghosts, because again, you can contact them right away. Most of them do not charge money. Most of them will get back to you fairly quickly. And again, like I said, trust your gut. A lot of these people are always looking for more people to join up with them. So, if you get a decent rapport with them, hey, maybe tag along on an investigation, or just kind of run it by them and maybe say, hey, I see you're investigating the old school down the road. Would it be cool if I tagged along just to kind of just see what you guys do? And most people will be receptive to that and be like, yeah, no problem. And they'll end up doing that. So again, just do your research.
Kevin, in your opinion, what is the future of the paranormal?
I think the future is very bright. I think, again, like we said earlier in the show, that because of the way the world is going, it's almost kind of like, you have to kind of make a choice here, whether you're going to be good or bad. And I hate to use that analogy, but there's so much negativity out there. You have to try to choose to be positive, not just to make your own life better, but to, better the other life. And again, I've had more experiences where I've actually done things like that, where I've actually experimented with negative and positive energy, and it is true and it does exist. So I think it's going to increase, it's going to grow, and I think unless you know what you're doing, stay away from a Ouija board.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that just opens up a whole can of worms. Because we could go do a whole nother show just on Ouija board do's and don'ts.
Son of a gun. Do you think that most paranormal events are connected?
Yes, I do believe. I've done some research, and there's a lot of really good people out there that they kind of brought this into to my attention. On different shows, is that a lot of these experiences you'll see, not only there'll be paranormal phenomena, but there'll be a Bigfoot sighting, there'll be UFO sightings, things like that. And it's just like a lot of these places never get reported properly. So you never really knew that. So now this is coming out where a lot of these events are, triangulated, or if you will. So they are exist. I don't know why that is, but apparently there's a lot more out there than we're led to believe, that we're led to know, and it kind of makes me wonder, when I'm having experiences, what else is going on?
That's one thing that a lot of people within the paranormal community agree on, that the research isn't being done right. It's not being reported right. Why doesn't somebody form an organization where all this information can be put into a data bank, and that courses can be given, I don't mean charged for, can be given, so that people who are on their own or with different groups can actually follow set protocols in doing investigations and reporting it, so that the triangulation as well as the analysis of the data can be made properly?
Oh, absolutely, and I think they do. From what I've found out, in the last 2 years since my book has been published, and I've been doing shows and signings and research and meeting a lot of great people, I found that there's a lot of ego involved here, and unfortunately, that's a lot of these TV shows that are driving that. And that's just a shame, because a lot of people, I like you were talking about how my personality is. I've actually been on a different show where I was with a guy who was so serious that it was like, oh my God, like you couldn't make this guy laugh. Everything was so serious about the paranormal. And it was just like, okay, I understand, because he tried to, like, no matter what you did, he'd debunk your claim because he knew it all. And it was like, you can't deal with people like that.
No.
That doesn't work this way. But there is a lot of that. And there also is a lot of, splintering out there, because you got the Bigfoot hunters, you got the paranormal researchers, you got the ufologists. So there's so many that they don't want to share for whatever reason. There's not a lot of sharing in that community. They all want to keep it for themselves, so you never really get to see it's kind of like the local law enforcement and the FBI. Nobody wants to share information with that, so it's kind of like that. That's at least that's what I've kind of found.
Kevin, time has come for us to say so long for tonight. You will be back, but I want to thank you so much for sharing, and keep up the great work. And I look forward to the next time we meet back here in the X Zone.
Rob, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and I hope your audience did too.
I'm sure they did. Thank you so much. XO Nation, our guest this hour has been Kevin KILLEN, and we're going to post Kevin's website as well as his email address on the show notes. But quickly, here's the website, ozarkmt.com, and his email address is kkillenbt@gmail.com. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour. Don't go away.